I've been training my whole life for this. This is my destiny. It's time.
I'm going with you.
No, you're not.
You need me.
A change is coming, Danny.
Become what you were meant to be.
I am the Iron Fist.
The hell does that mean?
Iron Fist is a very interesting show to talk about. It's been gaining a lot of controversy lately regarding whitewashing, white saviors, and all that SJW bull. And while those arguments against the show, those criticisms, are in fact wrong and don't hold any merit, because Danny Rand was always American, white in the comics. People think, oh, well, if he knows martial arts, then he must be Asian, right? No, white man can know martial arts. You need to shut your mouth, okay? You need to just be quiet. You need to read up on the source material. And you just need to, just be quiet. While those complaints and BuzzFeed logic doesn't apply to this show, there are some considerable problems with it. Marvel so far has had an amazing record with their Netflix shows, Daredevil Season 1 being near perfect in my opinion. Jessica Jones, I love Jessica Jones. I love Luke Cage. All the Netflix shows have been really good and really solid shows, but all the problems with those shows can be summed up in one thing: too long. Whereas Daredevil Season 1 is an exception, because I feel like that flowed really well with the 13 episodes they have. Usually, the first half of a Netflix show is good, and then the second half drags a lot. And, something that can be summed up in 1 or 2 episodes takes about 7 for some reason, and it ends up feeling a bit draggy, and, just never feels natural, like they're trying to pad things. But at least when those shows were, sometimes I feel like they had amazing characters and story to fall back on. David Tennant was an amazing Jessica Jones, so they always had that to fall back on. Luke Cage was lovable in Luke Cage. Cottonmouth was also great. And the one problem with this show, with Iron Fist, is that Iron Fist does have interesting characters per se, right? Danny Rand, the main character, the character you're supposed to relate to, the character that the whole show is based around, he's not interesting in the slightest bit. He shows little tiny glimpses of interest, if that's the right way to put it. But basically his whole character boils down to hating the Hand, which is these association of ninjas who killed his parents in a plane crash, right? He hates the Hand, he wants to destroy the Hand, and that's basically his character. He doesn't have really any personality beyond that, other than having a boyish charm that I don't blame Finn Jones, the actor who plays him, for this. I think it's more like the writing, because I've seen him do well in Game of Thrones. He was quite good in Game of Thrones, but some things, Iron Fist was definitely boring in that first half of the season, and because the characters weren't really, they didn't have any clear motivation, nothing really seemed to come along that well. But then the second half is where it picks up. It does a complete 180 of what Netflix shows usually do, where the first half is good and the second half kind of drags. The first half of this show kind of drags and is kind of bad. And the second half is where it really picks up, and I'd say episodes 8 to 13 really is where the show becomes from average to good, because the action scenes get a lot better. The action scenes in the early episodes are very amateurish. There's a bunch of cuts in them. It's like you're watching Liam Neeson jump a fence and take in. It's unwatchable. and it felt very, very just rushed. And but the later seasons, you are not later episodes of the season, you get better fight scenes with less cuts and seem like a lot more, planned out beforehand, you know. And the second season is where the second half of the season is where Iron Fist really shine. And in that sense, it is a very interesting show. I can't really blame I can't blame Finn Jones because he did say he wanted to train more for the part of Danny Rand Iron Fist, but since the shooting schedule was so tight, he had to, be quick, and he didn't really get in the training that he deserved. And they would like brief him 15 minutes, or what the choreography was going to consist of, like before they started shooting, which is ridiculous, 15, and like now it puts the whole series in perspective. For 15 minutes that he had to practice fight scenes, it was pretty good. Even like the early ones that seemed very amateurish, like he had 15 minutes to rehearse that. I mean, you kind of have to like give him props for that. But yeah, apart from that, in the earlier episodes of the season, none of the characters are really interesting. Ward is kind of like the villain in the early episodes. But he ended up being my favorite character because he shows some actual genuine emotion. And the guy who plays him, Thomas Pelfrey, he does a great job making the torment that his character goes through convincing. Joy Meacham, Ward's sister, she was quite bland, I think. Harold Meacham, played by Australian David Wenham, he was okay. He was alright. He's definitely my least favorite of the Netflix villains, but he was okay. I feel like he was good for the most part. This show, all in all, really hasn't soured my excitement for Defenders, but it has made me wonder, like, can Danny Rand support his own show? Which I think he can work better as a secondary character rather than a character that can hold his own TV show, right? So I think he will be better in Defenders. Finn Jones, he did good with what he was given. With better writing, I feel as though he can really come to, be Danny Rand. I feel like he can, with better material, he could, be a lot better. Everyone's saying this is Marvel's first failure. It's are wrong. This is not a failure by any means. No, it does drag in the beginning episodes, and the fight scenes aren't spectacular most of the time. But when the show's good, it's good. It can hold its own weight. But the characters aren't as interesting, as likable, or as relatable as other Netflix shows. And I think that's the real thing they got to work on for season 2. I did really like the soundtrack though. The soundtrack for this Netflix show is, I'd say, even more memorable than Luke Cage or Jessica Jones, because the main theme itself, like the visuals of the main theme intro, are quite bland, a running theme in the show, but the music that goes with it, I think, can be freaking amazing if put to like really badass visuals. I really like the soundtrack. It feels very Tron, feels very futuristic, and like strangely fits Iron Fist. So I did really like the soundtrack. I thought that was one of the really good things about the show. In conclusion, is it a terrible show? No. Is it as good as the other shows? No. Is it my least favorite? Yes, but it's not terrible. I think it has potential to better itself in the future, and I'm still excited as hell for Defenders, to see all these characters join together, and just be like the Avengers of the Netflix genre TV show thing. All in all, I would give Iron Fist a 7 out of 10.